Lynn, did you spend any time with Shade Tree this month?
You better believe it.
I know you did.
You bet your boots I did, buddy.
I know. How many
Why,
hours
what
did you
did you
think?
How many hours would I say? In a month?
This just as last month.
Probably 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll get the rest of them here in a little bit. Email.
40.
40.
I'm not kidding.
I'm not questioning it.
I hit it this week,
All right, I'm glad.
or this month. This month, all right?
This month, it's just
Yeah,
this month.
month, yeah.
All right, so we're live?
Yes.
Okay. April's gonna do a roll call real quick.
Laura,
Here.
Emil,
Here?
Russ,
Yep. Yes.
Sarah, Lenan.
Here.
Okay, you're happy? All right, we gotta do it official. So normally we go through our agenda the way we do it, but today we have a group from the Arista Villas, the gentlemen. They want to do a presentation about the development out there on Vernon View Drive. So if you'd like this, I've had questions, so go ahead and step up and introduce yourself, then I'm gonna ask a couple questions, then we'll let you go.
Sure thing. My name's Clint Hurrah. I'm with K&G Equity. We're the development consultants for Arista Villas project. Can you hear me better?
Were you the one I talked to?
Correct.
All right, so we've talked a little bit.
Yep.
So I've had some people ask, we have people from the community here, are they gonna be able to ask questions?
This is our first time in front of the shade tree, so I'm not sure how you guys handle it. We're open for questions.
Okay.
I have that at the end of our
What was your
thing.
first
so
name again?
It's Clint.
Clint.
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, what have you got?
Very good. So, well, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I almost said this evening. I'm used to coming later in these, so 3 o'clock's good for me. My name again is Clint Hurrah. I'm representing K&G Equity. We are the development consultants for the Arista Villas project here in Mount Vernon. With me today, I have Mr. Tyler Mitten. He is a ISA board certified master arborist. He's also the owner of Ohio Tree Assessment and Consulting LLC. Tyler conducted our on-site woodland assessment, our canopy modeling review, and our technical validation for the plan that we have presented here to the committee. Our plan today is to present and review our findings for the existing site, explain our replanting strategy, and show how this plan meets Mount Vernon's 40% canopy goal at maturity as well. And the goal is also to secure the committee's support so the project may proceed to the MPC process. If we can go to number 2, wait for that to come up here. Thank you. The project covers approximately 40 acres and 31 of the existing woodland. Mr. Mitten surveyed, recorded 256 trees across 16 evenly distributed circular plots, which are shown between 1 and 16 on the aerial map. Each one was 100 foot in diameter. The sampling plots accounted for approximately 3 acres or 10% of the overall forestry. Trees greater than 5 inches in diameter at breast height, which is the DBH, were documented using tree plotter software and a GNSS satellite positioning device to ensure accuracy. If we can go over to the next slide, please. This slide here is showing the actual trees that were sampled on that site. Each sampled tree was recorded with its common and scientific name, the DBH, estimated height and condition. Standing dead trees taller than 30 feet were also included. Based on this sampled data, it was estimated that the wooded area contains approximately 2,700 total trees, and the report determined that about 40% are in fair, poor, or dead condition. The stand was dominated by sugar maple, American elm, and black cherry. Tree of heaven and white mulberry were also documented, which are an invasive species, and tree of heaven are also known to be the host for lanternflies. It was also noted but not recorded as this report that the understory has a widespread coverage of invasive shrubs, including Japanese honeysuckle and autumn olive, suppressing regeneration of natural trees in the area. This invasive tree and shrub species are not part of Mount Vernon's recommended planting and are identified for removal in our replanting plan. Because this woodland has been previously logged, it shows classic decline, uneven canopy, poor regeneration, and limited ecological value. That's why our focus isn't simply on tree replacement today. It's on long-term canopy restoration and urban forest stability. If we can just go back to the main one from here. Our replanting strategy was built around 5 key objectives: ecological restoration, replacing the declining woodland with a healthy native species; diversity and stability, following the 10-20-30 rule so that no species exceeds 10% of the total; equitable distribution, provide shade and benefits across all the lots in the streets; compliance and performance to meet the city's 40% canopy goal at maturity; and sustainability, which was ensuring proper planning and early stage care by having a certified master arborist supervision during the planting. So on the plan we presented, we have 781 trees, 646 new plantings, plus attempting to save 135 existing. The breakdown of those is street and common areas of 290 trees with about a 40 to 50 foot spacing, the pond perimeter of 56 trees for erosion control and habitat, home site trees of 300, 100 in the front yard and 200 in the rear yards. And the species mix would include, not limited to, but include bur oak, swamp white oak, American linden, maple, hackberry, hornbeam, bald cypress, red bud, dogwood, serviceberry, and evergreen screens such as arborvitae and Alaskan weeping cedar. All species are on the Mount Vernon approved list and suitable to local conditions. The canopy growth that we used was modeled using USDA Forest Service Urban Data Database, that's a long one, and iTree species modeling. It was used to estimate the crown width and canopy expansion over time. We ended up coming up with about 31.6% at year 25. Year 35 got to about 36.5, and then it's expected at full maturity with between years 35 and 40 to get to 40 to 42%. These projections were used with realistic growth data and built-in overlap discounts for tree spacing. The plan achieves the city's goal, again, of the crown growth, not by overplanting. So the plan is not only about planning, but it's to ensure long-term success, as I mentioned a little bit before, through professional oversight and maintenance. So all trees will be supervised by a board-certified arborist during planting to ensure their long-term growth. As Tyler can say, a lot of them are misplanted in the beginning and therefore don't last very long. We also have a 2-year establishment and replacement commitment, so to ensure everything on the canopy gets the full development in the early years. Any trees lost during that period will actually be replaced by the developer. So in summary, this plan replaces a declining woodland with a well-planned, diverse, and sustainable urban forest. It fulfills Mount Vernon's canopy coverage objectives, maintains professional oversight, and provides lasting environmental and community benefits. On behalf of Arista Villa's development team, we would respectfully request the Shade Tree Commission's approval for this strategic planting. And I thank you for your time and attention today. And Tyler and I would be happy to answer any questions, which I'm sure there will be. So that's my spiel for us to get started.
All right, well, I have a couple.
Sure.
So, I understand that the dogwoods and the beech are on our preferred list, but we've had a heck of a time getting dogwoods and beech to grow in our community.
Okay.
We've replaced a bunch of them, so we would like to back off of those and let's substitute it with something else.
Okay.
Okay? And it looks like most of the beech trees were going to be in the backyards, by your drawing here.
I believe so.
Okay. So, we'll have to come together on something on that.
There's a lot of trees, so I don't
Yeah,
know exactly
there's
where
quite a
everyone
few
was.
trees, which is good. We like trees. That's what we're here for. So that between the beech and the dogwoods, we'd like to do some substitutions on those. Maybe get a different variety or more of a variety.
Would you be able to clarify on the cultivar of those species?
You know what? You're beyond what I know about trees. I'm just the guy that says, let's plant trees,
Okay.
okay?
There's a big enough list in there, I think, that we can find. The big thing is also to watch, we had a very hard time, that 10, 20, 30 rule. It's hard.
It is.
Every time you start putting trees, you're like, that's off. So you start moving into new species, and then you're off. So I think with the amount of trees on there, it's not untainable. So we hear what you're saying, can easily replace the dogwood and beech. I think the dogwoods were in the front, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
they were good, redbuds and
Yeah,
dogwoods
so
in the
that
front
should be a
yard.
pretty easy replacement, and then the beech, we can look at some other,
Some kind of come up with a little something in there.
and then we'll make sure it matches our 20, or 10, 20, 30 rule to make sure we don't exceed that on any of those.
Tell the folks in the audience what the 10, 20, 30 rule is.
So the 10,
they
20,
know.
30 rule is 10% can be only of one species, 20% is of the, another 30, and then the 30% is of a family. So it gets a little complicated because certain trees are in different sections and they cross, and then, but we did a whole entire report, and we've actually shown that in the back pages of ours to verify that we don't have anything crossing on that. So that was probably one of the harder ones to fit into the report, because you're trying to get as many trees back on, but then you also want them to survive, pests and other diseases that come across.
Tell them too about the coverage, like they probably didn't hear you say it, but it's in the report, like after 5 years and what the goal is, what the shade tree wants after 40 years.
Yeah,
Can
so
you tell them that?
the goal is to get to a 40%.
You got to talk in the microphone.
Sorry.
I'm really sorry.
Yeah, it's all
Thank
right.
you.
The goal is to get to a 40% overall coverage on the property. So they were strategically placed to make sure that they're in the rear yards, so they were shade down because of the way the property sits north to south, and basically the coverage is that. But then you also get, when you get 50, 60 foot tall trees and you get them 50 foot apart, you get overlapping of shade. So then you have to do discounts for that. You can't just accumulate and say that whole area covers a tree. So we had to do pretty extensive modeling on that to verify where we were going to get to.
This little plan you showed us, is that all the acres you guys use in every stitch of your ground?
Is that our entire
Like
project?
how many acres are out there? 31 you said?
It's 40 acres total.
40
So
acres.
currently 10 acres are not, they're just plain non-wooded in the front. Only 30 acres in the rear is actually what's wooded right now that is being proposed to be removed. We tried to save more, but the issue is the grading on the site is so extensive that in order to even get to like home sites, we have to do mass grading to bring it down to a natural roll. So what we're going to try to do on the north side is where no grading will be done, is where we're going to try to save all those trees across the top side there. We looked at some other modeling, but I mean, our grading cuts are anywhere from 5 feet to 25 feet. So when we were talking with Tyler and looking at different models, like he's like, you can't grade anywhere close to those because they won't survive. So coming in here, you don't want to be like, hey, we can do a whole bunch here, and they're not going to make it. So realistically, the only ones we can get are on the north side because of grading.
Again, this is just a question that just popped in my poor little brain. So you're gonna go in here and cut 18 feet of soil out, or 5 feet of soil out. I'm assuming you're gonna peel the topsoil off and then reapply it?
Yeah, so that's all part of the land development plan. So there's a mass grading plan that does cuts and fills. They come in, they strip it, they put topsoil aside, they do the mass grading, they'll do all the utilities. The topsoil comes back in after the infrastructure goes in and creates a good base. And we were talking with them, depending on where we get to with the soil types and all out there, potentially doing a mulch style or a blended, mix to make sure we also create the best blend.
In the tree pit itself, yeah.
Yeah, for the tree and the overall growth, yards and everything. So sometimes we've done a mass, because we are doing such a stripping, it might be worth us going back and putting that into play.
Going back to the beech and the dogwoods, they don't do very well at all in that disturbed soil.
Yeah. So that would probably be a good recommendation.
All right. Then in one place you mentioned an Alaskan willow, and another place you mentioned Alaskan cedar. Are they the same, or is it two different? The willow was going to be around the ponds for aesthetics, but I forget where.
So I said arborvitae. So the arborvitaes were.
Maybe that was the arborvitae.
Yeah, the arborvitaes are more for the shading or screening on the back side of the pond to the adjoining neighborhood, and then we kind of sprinkled in some of the weeping cedars up toward the front for more of the aesthetics. So you didn't just have big green giants all the way around the pond area. We put like 3 or 4 in the corners, a couple here. Also, you kind of get the high, green giants. They grow. They're fast. They get big, but they kind of look a little junky in the front of the ponds like usually. So we try to do something more with the tree plantings, and then like they get more of the cedar, weeping gets a little bit more of a look to it that we put up toward the front for aesthetics. And plus it's habitat and everything else that brings something different to the project.
All right. So then, we're gonna be full of questions for you today. Not really. 2,700 trees taken out, and we've already, we can't argue that probably 40% of them aren't worth a darn, that's just the way it is. And we wanna put 781
81.
trees back in. So we're losing 2,000-ish trees that would be 2-inch in diameter or larger.
5-inch.
5 inch or larger. So we're losing a lot of trees. Yeah, thank you. So when we were on the phone, we talked about a tree bank and doing some things where we can use some of that in other places in the community. So how would you suggest we work out the difference between the 2,700 and the 700?
So we looked at that. The modeling was basically done, and we were really looking to see if we couldn't get to any kind of canopy coverage, that we were going to basically be creating a long-term unsustainable coverage, in the neighborhood by only maybe getting the one ornamental tree in the front, and the street trees. That calculation there, we're not even close to those, numbers for our canopy coverage. So adding 2 trees, large trees in the backyard is really where, we got the extra stuff. It depends, what the request would be, but this is a pretty expensive planting, based on the size of the tree and the supervision of a master arborist on site the entire time during it. So, we think we're meeting the requirements that would be looked for, especially since the trees that are in that 2,700, a lot of them have been logged for dollars. Like the oaks are gone. There's some large trees in there, but I think the best was poplar.
Yeah.
That was like the big tree, but there's not a lot of. We feel that we're bringing back a little bit more of a native, nice spread rather than just a consolidated woodland of random forestry. So.
And I agree, you're doing it by the book, I've looked it over, I've seen what you're doing, but I'm asking for more.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Doc, is like the people in the audience, it's like our goal was like, if you take out a tree, you gotta replace the tree. Like, is that more important for us as a committee, 1-for-1, or are we more important for the coverage? It seems like he may be taking out more trees, but his coverage, to me, a naive person, am I right? It seems like you guys have more coverage than what we had.
So
We have less trees, but it seems like we have better coverage. Not right away, but long, remember how we said 5 years,
Correct.
7 years, 15, 20 years?
Correct.
Is that right?
It depends how you look at it. If like coverage as far as like to what, right now, like you've got the understory, with all the invasive species, which is going to continue to stop any positive growth in there. The replanting plan, if you try to get to 1-to-1, you're going to become an overplanted development, and it's actually
woods again.
That's it, and it's not
No houses, all woods.
And then you're going to end up getting, with the overgrowth, is what we're talking about, the canopy, you start getting trees that don't have growth on the sides and all because you've got too many placed too close, and you end up with a forestry that is kind of what it is today, where it's really just top canopy. Like everything down below it, a lot of it can't grow because it is so consolidated. So what we're going for is more of like the positive native, urban forestry that's going to sustain long-term, growth. Those houses are going to be there for hundreds, 100 years plus. So it's like the forest is going to stay with that and grow rather than just get condensed in and just have too many, trees, bearing it. If this was like a really good overall forest land and we could just clear out lots and make it like that, we've definitely work on that. It's just not what this land is really presenting, or makes any sense to try to do. I hope that answered your question. I know
It does.
it's a tough one. It's like we can't get to
Well,
one
you
to
can't
one.
do one to one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You can't go 1-to-1 with how many houses you guys are doing?
100.
There's no
It's
way to
100
do that.
houses, so we'd
I
have
understand.
yeah, it'd be 27 trees a lot.
So how about if we do this? If anybody here in the commission has questions, let's answer your questions, make sure you're happy, and then we'll kind of open it up to the rest of the room.
Yeah.
I did want to kind of speak to Russ's point a little bit on that. When you look at the satellite.
Wait a minute. You gotta talk in the microphone.
Yeah, you have
Sorry.
to, you have to tell us who you
I'm
are.
deaf, so sorry.
So
Tell-
if you
tell us
look,
who you are.
if
Yeah.
you look at the current satellite imagery, it's very misleading as far as, you know, it looks like that's completely covered with forest canopy, but once you walk the site and you understand it, it's not. Especially in the southern half, that's all very low, like 20-foot sub canopy of honeysuckle and autumn olive and things like that. Unfortunately, we couldn't provide a better map unless we did a very expensive LiDAR survey that showed the actual difference in height of the canopy. But I think what they're proposing here is a lot better, what Jim said, quality over quantity, really. And when you look at this woodland, it's really a bunch of, you know, toothpick trees with a 25-foot canopy on top, and what they're proposing is anywhere from 40 to 60-foot canopies per tree. So I just wanted to speak to that, because it's very easy to look at that map and say, oh, well, it's covered in woods, and you're going to get rid of all of it, but not necessarily the case.
That's what I thought first when I looked at it, and then we went out and walked the site, and it was like that. And then our urban forester and our assistant engineer were out there and also walked it, so they'll agree with you on everything you said on that.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay. Any other questions up here?
I have some.
Okay, we got some more.
You alluded to this in your presentation. I just want to make this a clarification for myself. In page 2, you indicate that the board-certified arborist will be present to oversee the plantings.
Correct.
We're talking full-time, correct?
Well, when you say full time, during those plantings,
If a tree is being planted, an arborist is going to be there to
arborists will be
look.
on site. Correct.
Okay. And we're hoping it's going to be Mr. Mitten.
Correct.
Okay.
We just haven't got down to that part of the quote yet, so that's why I said
If there's anybody that's most familiar with the site right now, that's going to be you, isn't it?
correct.
Okay. All right.
Plan right now is for him to do the work.
Okay. I am very happy that that would happen, and I would expect that to happen.
So would we.
Second item is in your planting detail on page CP 09-1. I just want to make sure that we all understand what that is showing and how these plants will be planted. You're showing that a typical root ball, that we're going to be one root ball width away for the bottom of the hole, and then, well, actually half of a root ball width from the bottom of the ball, and then at the top it'll be one. So let's just take a typical 2.5 inch caliber tree. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that we can have a 2-foot ball on that. And using your detail then, if you're standing there looking at a tree being planted, you're going to be looking at a 6-foot hole at the top and a 4-foot hole on the bottom with a 2-foot diameter tree in the bottom. I think that's great. I think that's what it should be. Past experience has shown me that that's not what you get when it's out in the field. So I would ask you, and also all of us, that through the construction time with the arborist on site, that we see that that happens, because your normal contractor is not going to want to do that.
Yeah, and I'll speak from experience on that. That's what we used to do years ago. And we learned our lesson. It doesn't get you anywhere because you just start replacing trees multiple
Exactly.
times until they end eventually take, because most of these are in the streetscape. So they're going to be part of the dedication off the street and the easements and stuff back to the city. So, for the first couple of years we're going through a project, we start putting trees in. If they're just dying off, we're just paying again and again and again to put the same tree in. So that's why we've done things like this where we have a master arborist do it right the first time, because I'm not going to be on site every time. I can't watch every hole, but that's why we're going to hire them, so that when they're putting them in, they're done properly.
Good.
Yep.
What happens often is the landscaper comes on site, nobody's there. Where do I plant a tree? And
supervisor
starts
leaves
plopping
and-
things in and wants to get out of there. And as
they
long
look
as you
great.
have supervision that's there, and I'm satisfied with the the qualifications of the people that you say are going to be there. And I know you'll probably be a bigger stickler than.
You have no idea.
Okay. I'm getting warm and fuzzies already. So that's very good.
We wanted to bring someone in that could really be local and make sure the project was done properly from start to finish.
I think if any project fails, that's where it fails most of the time. You come up with nice, good pictures, and everybody says rah, 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 and then once it gets out into construction, half of the stuff doesn't get done.
I concur.
Okay, thank you. One other item is, I received an email last night about 5 o'clock saying that these plans were arrived. I went ahead and picked my copy up this morning. I had to work for 6 hours. I had a half hour before I came to the meeting to take a look at what I've got. Let me ask you this, if we don't approve this today, is that going to mess you guys up if we have a little more time to take a look at these plans?
No, I mean, we want you to be comfortable with them. So, I mean, we're looking for an approval. I mean, if it has to be posted, I don't really know how your approval has to happen. Like, I know in MPC, it has to happen while we're standing here. If this committee doesn't, it doesn't matter to us. You know, we were trying to go MPC for November. We won't make that just because of the way the deadlines fall out. So we're going to try for December. So we're happy to have, we want you to have the proper time to report it. I apologize for coming in late. I worked a lot of hours with everyone. The tree study was only done, what was the tree study dated?
Like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
So it takes a few weeks to get all that information, field work done back to him, got his report to us. So he worked very hard. And then our team had to put all of it on the plan. And then, as I said, with the 10, 20, 30, it looks great. You run it, you're like, not working. And then when you change it, then the canopy doesn't work. And then you start changing it. And then, so it's, we apologize for the lateness, but I also wanted to make sure the accuracy and what we were presenting was real. And not just, hey, this looks good, let's go for approval. We wanted to make sure we had a real full plan. So I'm happy for you to review it. It is 30 pages, has a lot of information. I've talked to Mr. Brown before Zoom. We're happy to get on again if you'd have more questions before approval.
Okay.
But we're confident in what we put forward that it should meet everybody's expectations.
So if we would have some kind of suggestion that we take a little more time so that other people can take a look, and we've got one board member that's not here.
Sure.
So I don't know if she got a copy of them.
I don't know, I left a voicemail and
Yeah.
that was the best I got.
And is what you're saying, that it wouldn't be detrimental to you if we decided to do that? Not that I'm saying we're going to, but I just want to let
If
that
we
be
needed
open.
to, I'm okay with that decision, and we could even go back and discuss this Dogwood and Beach in the interim too, to make sure we had a replacement. So we're completely open. We're wanted to make sure it works for
Very
everyone.
good. With what little time I've had to look at this, it is a very qualified report, and I'm very satisfied with what I see so far. But I'm interested in really digging in.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
I was curious, kind of piggybacking on what you said. What is there some sort of like a warranty on trees where, you know what I mean? Where, let's just say you planted a bunch of trees and everything should have been perfect and a bunch of them die, or even just a few of them die. What's the warranty?
Typically from the nurseries, there's not much warranty because it's really based on the plantings. Typically, we've seen where it dies is what they've said, it's in the plantings. It'll look green, look beautiful, and you put the tree bags on it, you water it, and all of a sudden one day you come out, it is dead as a doorknob. Usually it just hasn't rooted and taken, you know, Tyler, I'm happy to have him jump in here. You want to jump in? He's probably the better guy to speak on that.
Sure.
Yeah, typically your planting warranty will come from that planting contractor, not necessarily the nursery that the plants come from. Commonly in the industry now, we're seeing about 2 years, so it shouldn't be any problem to find a contractor that will warranty the installed trees for 2 years.
Okay. Thank you.
And I do have another question with the tree pit. In some of the earlier designs I saw, they showed a utility trench outside at the edge of the tree lawn along the sidewalk and all, but this is just basically you're showing us where you're going to plant.
So that's going to be a requirement done by ordinance. So that is within, the trees are within that utility span, and per spacing is done by the ordinance. So we have no control. It's curb, space, tree, sidewalk, and utilities on the other side of that. So that's nothing we can control width-wise or You can't even change it. It's all dedicated and has to be exactly the same model.
I didn't see, I didn't see it again, and I just wondered about
Yeah, it's
that.
on the model. If you look, it's kind of probably hard to see in there, but if you look closely, we didn't show the easement because it wasn't relevant to this part, but you do see the sidewalks and tree placement and things like that, which would be the same as other plans.
Okay. All right. We've come, in the community, we have contractors come in, gas companies, things like that, and then we go to plant a tree and there's a gas line where it wasn't on the drawing.
So the good thing, most of these, the gas lines and electric will be on the outside of the tree line. But the other good thing is that we don't have any overhead lines coming into this development, which in the past is where the streetscape turns into like a V line or a big cut line because they just keep trimming it back and it gets a really bad canopy. So the good thing is this street canopy should really stay a street canopy, by the way the utilities are being brought into the property.
Okay. Well, and then I have another one.
Okay.
Dang, I'm just, on your on your pictorials here, we got a lot of patchwork going on, and we tend to try to stay away from that. You can see how they're like every other tree or something is a different variety. And again, that doesn't have, we don't have to have that today, but is there a way we can make it where we're more in groups?
So they are pretty well grouped. I mean, Ty, if you want to step
Maybe I'm
in.
looking at it wrong.
I think some of it was actually also spread to also go for the 10, 20, 30, because they, if you have a diseased tree, you don't want them
You don't
all
want
in a
a whole
group,
group of them
because then you
together.
just wipe out that entire stand. So, I mean, it is, but you also don't want it to look too out of place where you've got going down a streetscape and it's like 16 different style trees and it starts over. So we try to clump them where it's kind of like this street had two, and then we try to do it pretty methodical so that it worked through the plan. But open for thoughts and suggestions.
Just,
And
like Emil said, we didn't get a lot of time to look, and I just kind of glanced at that part of it. I read this,
Yep.
and I liked what I read. But
Thank you.
when I look at this, I was like, wait a minute, that looks a little patchy.
it's hard to show them, especially when you have
But on this little
40
piece of paper,
varieties
it's hard to show.
of trees.
It's hard to read it.
Please
Gosh
feel free to
sakes.
step
No,
in on that one.
I was just going to speak to the basically the design and the diversity. Aesthetically, I did recommend some sort of alternation going down the street for what Clint said. If there is some sort of disease outbreak or pest outbreak, you don't want to have to replace the entire street. Hopefully, there would be something left in that event. And those aren't even cultivar differences. Those are actual genus and family differences for that alternation. And another plus of that is you get an aesthetic bonus in the fall because trees change color at different times. They change different shades. So you get a nicer aesthetic appeal that way, I think.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions up here? All right, well, so to open this to the public, what they would have to do is come up and tell us who they are, ask a question. You'd have to step up and answer it, and we'll just
I'm happy to
switch
do
back
so.
and forth. So if anybody has any questions, you got to step up to the microphone and
I say your name.
you have to tell us who you are and.
Hi, I'm Susan Homan. I just have one question. With the economy the way it is, and this is a big project, what happens if they don't get finished? Do we have some kind of guarantee that they'll reforest it, that we don't have a mudslide? That's my question.
Absolutely. That's a great question. This is early stages still, obviously. If we get through MPC and we get through all the way through the land development plan, basically what would happen then, there would be a developer's agreement with Mount Vernon, and that would include a performance bond. So that we do not do the work, the performance bond would finish the neighborhood. That should hopefully answer that question.
Quentin would like to say something about that.
And just to add to that, it's specifically in Chapter 1114.11, the tree planting and preservation, Section E5, depending on conditions relating to the season of the year, the size of the proposed development, the complexity of the tree planting and the developer's time schedule, the city reserves the right to require a financial guarantee equal to the approximate cost of tree planting to assure that all required improvements shall be completed within 2 years of the acceptance of the final subdivision plat. So it's outside of the performance bond that's in the development agreement. It's specifically an option within the tree planting ordinance as well. So there could be a separate financial bond or deposit that could handle specifically tree planting.
Okay.
Should I guess that would be the MPC would have to approve that.
So, you're satisfied with the answer? All right, very good. Anybody else?
My name is Jennifer Showman, and I have two questions. One goes off of what you just asked. So this project as a development is labeled in two phases. And so like the first, can you still hear me if I'm turned? The first phase doesn't have the foresting and the second phase does. So I guess my question is, if you're doing phase one, are you taking out all the trees in phase one also, even though that development isn't happening in phase one? Does that make sense? Does that question? Okay, so that's my first question. And then my second question is, I know nothing about trees. I'm going to start by saying that. But a lot of the trees that you have are in that easement between the road and the sidewalk. So I know you see downtowns, they look great. They have the little trees there. It looks really nice, but every so many years they're out there digging them up because the roots, the trunks, all of that kind of stuff, the developers will no longer be in charge of this. So like, are we then, and granted, I don't know what kind of trees, I don't know how big they'll get, but if we're looking at 30 years to get this canopy that we're looking, I'm assuming these trees to some extent will get larger. And I want to make sure that we're not planting a bunch of trees that are then going to hurt the infrastructure that then the city is going to be responsible for taking care of in 15 years. Thank you.
I'll make a comment about number 2 real quick. Just here in the city, that's a 10-foot tree lawn. The closest thing we have to a 10-foot tree lawn is Sandusky Street, or not Sandusky, West High Street. So you look at that, it's a nice space. Most of our other neighborhoods, we have a 2 or 3 foot tree lawn. So we've got some trees that are 30 or so inches in diameter, and roots are growing over, and the sidewalks are heaving up. One of our ordinances in the sidewalk replacements and sidewalk construction, now they have to put down a base of gravel before they put down the concrete, so the roots have an opportunity to go under the concrete instead of bringing it up. If you see that around town, that's been there 80, 100 years. We're trying to work towards the future to keep that from happening again. So a 10-foot tree lawn for a tree that we're talking about is a great space.
And just to piggyback off him, that is actually an ordinance by Mount Vernon that we have to follow. So it wasn't designed by us. It's the ordinance to say this is our thing. And then the trees are required as part of that to do. So we don't have a lot of that. But you're correct. That is a much bigger than I've seen in the past on a lot of areas. Yeah. And Tyler can talk about it. The second part was the phasing. It's only put into a 2-phase right now because depending on economies and all. So we could go in there. Typically the phases though, like a lot of it times they will go in and do all the mass grading, the utilities and everything up to a certain point, and then finish phase 2 as they sell out phase 1. We haven't got anywhere down the line of how the phasing is going to work. That's a lot of recommendations from the MPC, land development plan. That gets all into the post this meeting to actually get those approvals. So I can't really answer that until we get a little farther down the road with them. Does that answer? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
I was just going to add one thing.
Yeah, go for it.
I was just going to speak to your infrastructure piece a little bit. All the underground infrastructure, utility infrastructure, I'm not sure what Mount Vernon specific ordinances are for that, but I think the highest distance close to the ground that those utilities should be would be 24 inches, and that's probably I'm probably speaking too high. I think that will probably be lower. So most tree roots are no more than 16 to 18 inches below grade. Obviously, there's problems and tree roots do get down there after so long, but typically you're not going to have rooting issues, especially with newer installed infrastructure. Most of your issues you see in like clay pipes and things like that.
There was a second, I feel like, I'm sorry, to Jennifer Showman's question, as far as the phasing goes, because I think it kind of tied into another question. Let's say they do phase 1, they've got everything mass graded, but they're not ready to plant the trees for phase 2 because they maybe have to do the utilities or something. So our stormwater ordinances would require them to stabilize the site within, if they're not going to be doing any work for a certain amount of period of time, I think it's 30 days, they have to stabilize it within 14 days. So that means they have to put grass seed down and stabilize it. And the first part of their construction for the grading would be to also construct the stormwater ponds. That would be a requirement from our stormwater. So as far as like, if they do start doing the grading, develop it, and they don't get the trees in within, a certain short period of time, we do have those in place per the stormwater code that would prevent any sort of downstream erosion or flooding from not having those trees in place. They would still be required to stabilize it, and they would still be required to retain the water in their stormwater ponds.
Thank you. Mike Hillier, 215 East Sugar. I just want to clarify, I have something clarified if I could. The lady, a couple of people ago asked about the financial responsibility if they'd pull out. Who would see that this tree project was finished? And our assistant engineer mentioned it was up to municipal planning. If I heard you correctly, what you're reading,
Yeah.
if you'd repeat that, but it's up to municipal planning to see it's part of the plan, correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure who makes that agreement, but in the code here it says that the city reserves the right to require a financial guarantee. I believe that would be part of have to be part of the development agreement that municipal planning approves.
So while he's here, the lady asked for financial security, and we're saying, well, the city could ask for it. How do we assure this conversation goes from here to municipal planning? To maybe, am I making sense here? Or does it just, if municipal planning is not watching this, the mayor doesn't review this, you don't go back to the mayor, what she asked and what he just said is a dead issue. And it's happened in the past.
Okay.
Are you talking about abandoning the project on trees?
No, what I'd like to see is
Project?
what he just said, be
About
part
the
of this
trees?
project. But if it's up to municipal planning, how do they know about it? Unless this contractor puts it in his plan. But if he doesn't,
For trees only.
I saw the same issue on the Newark Road project where they were required to put in left turn lanes. I was on city council, if nobody remembers that. And it got twisted and turned around enough times before it came to municipal planning. It wasn't actually what was asked by council. I just want to make sure what he says gets further to the people that's supposed to handle it so it becomes part of the plan that answers this lady's question. Hopefully that makes sense.
About the trees, right?
About the trees and the financial responsibility
Okay.
if they left, correct?
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
So somebody want to answer that question? Thank you.
Okay.
We'll let Scott talk, then you can fill in.
All right, Scott Zimmerman. I'm the zoning enforcement officer for the city of Mount Vernon is one of my duties. And Mike, I will make sure that this will be in that agreement and it will be addressed. I don't see an issue why it wouldn't be. It'll be in there.
But you can see how it could get passed.
Oh, I can see it could fall through the cracks, but that's why I'm here at the meeting. I want to make sure.
The second part, just to say that this actually changed a little bit. So this is only to get back to MPC. So the MPC meeting will be back open to the public, which it was not the first round. So all these questions will be brought up if anybody has them in that MPC. The previous shade tree did not have this as a formal meeting prior to the MPC approvals in the past. That was a new ordinance they've actually changed. So we're here today in the new ordinance, so we have to get approval basically from here to move forward to MPC. And MPC, all those kind of questions will be brought up, I'm sure at that time and made sure. And also every developer's agreement we've ever had for any project we've done has included something along those lines for stormwater, street, maintenance, trees, landscaping before they even, it's a really standard inside of that boilerplate form that they use. So just wanted to say that this is going back to MPC and everybody will have that capability to raise those kind of questions at that meeting.
MPC is municipal planning.
Sorry.
We're not part of that.
Hi, I'm Dr. Carmen Dixon, and I currently reside at 17 Upland Terrace, but I'm in the process of purchasing 13 Upland Terrace because it is such a wonderful neighborhood. This isn't a question so much as it is a concern. Okay. My concern is everybody on this committee has only had about, if I remember correctly, 30 minutes to look at a 30-page document. Mr. Hillier has already documented that there are some things that are not tied down, some I's that are not dotted and T's that are not crossed. no offense, I'm 49 years old now, and somebody can tell me it'll get done, and that's great. But I'm older than that now, and I'd like to see a little more. And it really bothers me that, first of all, we're so concerned. We've only had it 30 minutes. You've had it 30 minutes. We haven't heard it at all. And the people that are reviewing it in our best interest, I mean, I think we can kind of discern that there's a lack of knowledge about trees in the general audience that's been reviewing it. And so I mean no ill will and no disregard, but I think it would be a wonderful issue of trust if that paper could be turned over to the public. We're currently a two-college town. We have many departments of natural science. Kenyon has Schornmeyer Gardens and has everything, well, Brown Environmental Center and everything that they could consult on this, that we could get further opinions than bringing somebody in from out of town who, with all due respect, I was at some of the first meetings, whose intent can be questionable. There again, no offense, but I don't want the word shady to be the operative word in this. Thank you.
Can I speak to that?
Sure.
Sure. So we did, when we received them, we had our clerk add these documents, specifically the 30-page report, the 4 plan sheets, and the 2 graphics you saw that show where the trees surveyed were. Those are added to the meeting agenda for today. So if you go onto the agenda, you can pull up that PDF. The other thing you can do, they're all public documents. Anybody who wants to come down to engineering, we'd be more than happy to print off copies of those for you and give you paper copies. And I can always, we could ask the Shade Tree Commission if they'd like to have these put on the Shade Tree page of the city website as well. We can add those to that page as well. So anybody who just looks City of Mount Vernon trees, they could add those. But at least right after this meeting, you can come downstairs, and anybody who wants a copy of this can come get one of those.
I have a question. You said you guys had concerns, like Mike talked about the financial bond, more or less. Well, you said there's other concerns. Like, which ones was the other concerns? Can you tell me? Yeah, you're the one that asked. You said you had a lot of concerns.
I think the concerns we've had about this entire project have been obvious, and we've worked with you, and you have been good to work with us because it started out as apartment tenement rental housing, and we've gotten past that. We've gotten past a lot of obstacles and barriers here, and I am so happy that we have. But I think with all due respect, more than 30 minutes is required to get past this leg of the race. And the concerns I'm talking about is I currently have a house that has a full basement. I'm purchasing a house that has a full finished basement that my parents will be moving into in their later years. And so I want to make sure the plumbing, nothing is disrupted. Yes, I have heard your reports and so forth, and I appreciate that, but I would like to see it in writing, and I would be happy to come down and get a printed copy.
Fair enough. Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, those are all very valid concerns. I'm Zane
Tell
Mike,
us
so
who
I'm,
you are.
yeah, I'm Zane Mike, so I'm the city forester for the city of Mount Vernon. So valid concerns, but just to reiterate, this is solely for the trees. This meeting is to review and talk about the tree planting plan, not the utilities or the development itself going in, solely just for the trees being planted. What the study they did, if it was accurate, correct, and what their plan is to replace them is satisfactory to city code and to the shade trees recommendations, not the planning and development itself. Just wanted to reiterate that just in case anyone needed to know. So, yeah.
Yep. Come on up. Now you're gonna be up and down all day here.
That's okay.
And you had to climb up the stairs to get here too.
Susan Holman again. I'm concerned that you take down 30 acres of trees, and I know, we live right next door, okay? So we know the grade.
Yeah.
You take that down, and if you don't replace it, if there's a problem, you're gonna have a mudslide into 768. And you know, Dr. Dixon, Carmen, she has got a property right next to the pond. So if we don't have anything soaking up this rain that comes, you know it comes once in a while pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
And if we don't have anything soaking that up, we're going to have problems in the houses from like 13 on down. I mean, of floods in the basement. I can understand why she's concerned. Okay.
I got a hypothetical question for you guys. Do you guys like what's her concern? Do you guys have insurance like on something like that? Like when you guys start this development, let's say a mudslide comes in and it wipes out her basement.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll start at the top level here. So that's a great concern. And it's actually apparently already some issues on the area that doesn't have trees. There's a lot of sheet flow that's coming across that's creating water issues. We spoke to the city engineer, Brian Ball, and all. He's brought those to us because he's like, this project will help a lot of that sheet flow by evenly distributed, changing those flows from, steep slopes and everything. During the process, like the stormwater management on any project is super, super important and also very, very well regulated from a state level as well as a municipality level. So they come out and inspect weekly to ensure that everything's in place. The stormwater, it's kind of hard to explain the whole process, but the way the storm ponds go is they put the pond in and they build diversion tools to basically take all the water from the site to that diversion and control it inside of it. There's special soils that are brought in to contain it. There's risers to keep it from going overflow. Like they typically don't give out. And if there is an insurance, bond behind it as well as other insurance. But the way these developments are done with whatever the requirements are, whether it's silt fence, super silt fence, the engineers know that sheet flow. They do major calculations, and it's done across the board at a lot of areas. But I'm sure that the way they're going to handle it would be just like the other projects.
Yeah.
Hello, Don Carr, 4 Upland Terrace. I'm the second property on Upland Terrace, but across the street. I'm addressing some concerns that my neighbors have. That retention pond is, if you've been there to look, is on a major hillside. The concern is that that's going to have to be dammed behind all those 11 houses that you see on that street. That's going to raise that dam to do this right. I'm no engineer, but that dam is going to be pretty significantly high. I would put it maybe in the height of the dike that surrounds Mount Vernon. And as you know, I'm not an arborist. I think most of the people here, this is my first time at this meeting. We've all been to many meetings, so forgive our ignorance. But other than the screening issue that the neighbors are going to have of that pond is the erosion. Again, not being a tree person, but you start putting things in the ground below a dam. We're experiencing that with the cattle dam right now. That dam was classified as a class, whatever the lowest was, because it was feeding sheep. Now all of a sudden you put houses below that dam, and now the EPA says, oh, now we have to strengthen that dam. Well, we're going to see that from day one. I'm concerned that not only the screening is an issue, but what's going to happen to the roots of the trees that they're planting right alongside that dam. I'll call it a dam, a bank. Over the years, is that going to erode and compromise that retention pond? The other question is, and none of us that I know in the audience received the documents you received a half an hour before, but we're talking about the tree lawn. Do we actually have 10 feet from the curb to the sidewalk to be called a tree lawn in this design? I don't see I can't see dimensions, so.
We'll let him.
Let's ask those guys.
Yep.
Well, dam. Get up here and talk about the dam. Can you answer about the dam?
Well,
So,
come up to the microphone. Thanks.
the only thing I can say just on these points these are all valid, but again, the ponds and everything aren't in here for any kind of engineering, civil. They're not showing any kind of heights, berms. I don't even know if that tree line is on a berm. This is just for informational purpose, showing where they're placing the ponds. So when it goes to the MPC, that'll be an approval to move it to the next step, and then it goes into land development plan. There's a whole set of engineers that have a lot to do with that side. So I can't speak on anything about dams, heights, elevations, because that's not what I was prepared for today, and nor are we at that point. You know, and as far as the street, it's per ordinance. So whatever Mount Vernon's ordinance is and states that this is the width and the thing, that's exactly what the plans are and have been presented to the MPC that they've previously reviewed on the last meeting and are preparing for us to come back post this meeting, or as approved.
He's saying, what is the city's ordinance on, to answer this gentleman's question? Do you know?
For what? Width of tree lawn? For our
Yes. From the curb to the sidewalk. That's what he's asking.
I just did it real quick. I took their drawing to the scale. They've got a 10-foot tree lawn shown in there. So I would imagine that unless they're going to make some big changes to the whole drawing, because shrinking or expanding the tree lawn would affect everything. So I would imagine that that is actually what they have. To speak to your point, that is a very valid point as far as trees on the embankment of a stormwater pond. The Ohio EPA doesn't typically like to see trees on the embankment. From an engineering perspective, trees are great at bank stabilization. The issue is actually if the tree were to fall down and the root ball were to come up, it could cause a breach in the embankment. So to that point, when we get to the engineering side of the stormwater review, as Clint mentioned, there might be some changes in exactly where those trees are. The city engineer has his own opinions about trees in stormwater ponds too. So, you know, that would all come down at that phase.
What is the width? Like I said, like between the curb and the sidewalk?
This would be between the back of curb and the edge of the sidewalk.
So what's the guess, 10 feet?
I pulled up I didn't bring our engineering plans because I wasn't prepared, but I'm able to pull them up through our drive. So from the back of the curb, there is a 10-foot landscaping. From there's a 4-foot sidewalk. Then there's a 12-foot utility easement beyond that in the front. So that the utilities are on the other side of the sidewalk. And then that tree has to be a minimum of 3 feet even from that sidewalk in that 10-foot with a minimum. That's just the minimum. It has to fit in that 10-foot. But this is per the exact ordinance for Mount Vernon.
Hey, Clint, can you say what that ordinance is? So you have the number there?
I don't.
Did that help you, sir?
Okay.
Did that help your answer?
And also, let me address the fact that everybody, and we hear this at many meetings, on zoning appeals. That's beyond our purview, you know, beyond our purview. And as you can imagine, all this really ties together. The decision you make here is going to affect that retention pond and how it's going to be built. So I don't think we should say this meeting is only to talk about trees, to be fair. The point I was going to make too is, and thanks for the offer about getting us plans downstairs, but the fact that we have come here without any of this information in hand is a major disadvantage to the public as well as it is to you. And I guess my final comment would be, in fairness, I think this should be tabled for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, yeah. We officially stop at 4, so do we have to shut everything down at 4, but we can go further? Or how does that work? Or do we have to pardon me just for a second, I don't know. We never go over 4 o'clock. So how does that work for the YouTube and all the stuff?
We don't have a timeline for the meetings
We don't
like
have
I
a timeline?
run, so.
Okay, then we'll go.
say we
Okay,
just-
thank you. Thank you. Sorry.
Hi, my name's Bob Beck. To kind of go along with what other people have said, on previous meetings, these plans that we're looking at, the developer hadn't really presented them to municipal planning. So here, I'm just getting confused about cart before the horse, and here they're saying we're going to put X number of trees at X number of places in front of these houses, but when the developer presented these plans to municipal planning, they didn't have a plan of where these houses were, to the point of even, there's one map there that shows that this subdevelopment is coming down on Woodside Drive, which has never been said before. The locations of these water retaining ponds are important in relationship to roads, houses, and trees. And you know, I guess they're trying to clarify the building steps, but if you start at the back and you work forward, the first thing they're going to do is that 20-foot cut, taking down trees, dirt, anything, the embankment, and then work towards Vernon View Drive. And then the housing are Part A, which is closest to Vernon View, but all this back is going to be left in a situation where there is no more trees, there's no more topsoil, and it's just awkward to me to try to visualize someone being able to plan all these trees when I haven't seen, or the developer hasn't submitted to municipal planning for the people in the city to see that this is really the housing plan. And so, again, to what some other people said, if you could, you know, give us some time to review these plans, because I looked again earlier. I looked on Sunday, I looked yesterday, I looked today, you know, to try to get a feeling, because again, I hadn't been here before, don't know what's going to happen. But, you know, everything's in steps, everything's intertwined, but it would seem like there has to be the basic outline of this development before someone can even say, well, I'm going to have, you know, 180 or 130 new trees, not 120 or not 150, based on 2 per every house or 3 per every, when we don't even know how many houses there are. So I guess, again, appeal to maybe giving us some time to look this over, and you know, even the next thing would be if the developer could show us the real plans for the development, because you can't have one without the other, and the position of those lakes, and you know, they're all, everything's going to work together. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like me to do?
Sure, yeah, if you'd like to address
I'd
that a
like to
little.
let me just speak on that for a second. So this plan has been in front of MPC for preliminary. So everything you're seeing is actually there's a lot of things that go on outside of these actual meetings. It's not like we just design everything and then present it right at the meeting and say, I hope you guys approve it. So like with the MPC, we've worked on this plan for over almost 9 months to get to this 100-lot plan. We've gone to them, the streets that are connecting and everything are all per the master comprehensive plan, per the mayor's office, what they're looking for. So this is the plan that they've asked us to move forward with. So we did do a preliminary MPC meeting. That was where we ended up with this plan. Now we're back here. If the approval comes from the shade tree to say, you are meeting what we're looking to do in Mount Vernon, which is the canopy coverage, taking out, you know, we understand you can't get to 1-to-1. We think you put a comprehensive plan on to get back to, you know, what we're looking for. This is an infill development lot. This lot is zoned for exactly what we're proposing now. It's the same way that Upland Terrace got there. It's the same way that, what's the one to the north, Woodside got there. These were all developments as well. If anything, we're at a point now where the shade tree has stepped in and defining the future of development in Mount Vernon by having these very, you know, good guidelines for us to say, hey, I mean, look at developments. I mean, even in the last 5 years, you get one maybe little tree maybe in the front yard, maybe some street trees. So like, I think the plan and the way the committee is putting it together now is a very nice plan to get to a very good end product. But we have been to MPC. This is the plan that they want to see move forward. It is by rights at this point. So in the past, I think is what some of the comments were, is it was an NPD zoning approval that we actually got, and that was actually revoked. So now we're back to R1. This is by rights R1. So this is the plan that will be hopefully moving forward. But I just wanted to clarify a few things with the process of how we've got here with this plan. We can't take this plan from here, add a bunch of new things to it, and go back to MPC. They're going to tell us start over and go back and see Shade Tree to make sure your new plan. So just wanted to make sure that we are following the guidelines. And it is down to a T. We've had our preliminary, and actually the preliminary, even an MPC has changed. It used to be an offline meeting. It now was at the last MPC, which was, I think we were there in August. I can't remember my dates exactly, but we did have somebody there to present in August for us. So just wanted to clarify and close out the statement, but there's more questions, that's fine, but we are doing the proper procedures through Mount Vernon's engineering department and following their guidelines.
I appreciate 9 months of working, but that's very different than 30 minutes of looking.
I'm Ron Holman from 21 Upland Terrace, and my biggest concern since this whole project started is the water runoff in as it was being developed and afterwards. Okay, we were talking about the cattle dam project, and you know, I know there's issues with that. Wasn't put in for what it was, but I guess my question is, our runoff is at its maximum right now. We cannot put any more downstream to Kroger, and I think we need to really take a good look at where we're at, what we have to do. Then the project's going to have to kind of flow around what's feasible. You know, what the water, what kind of ponds we need to put in, what we need to do to build these ponds. And that will kind of determine what we can do. And that's all I ask. And I think it's for the benefit of the city of Mount Vernon, the benefit of all citizens of Mount Vernon, and for your interest, you know, that we come forward with the right, you know, right understanding of that. Because if we, you know, we can have those ideas planting trees, but all of a sudden, oh, we have to make this retention pond bigger. We may have to make this bank. It's not going to work. So, you know, if we know what we have to start with, we're going to be much better off. Thank you.
Have you citizens went to an MPC meeting, or is this the first public meeting you guys came to?
We were at the ones he's referring to, and they didn't even have the same maps on the different pages of the handout.
This has been going on for 2 years.
What's that?
This is the 4th attempt at this development. This has been going on for years.
Could I just speak to the stormwater question real quick? So I think that's a very valid point. So in the world of stormwater modeling, forested area has the lowest what we call curve number. The higher curve number refers to areas with like impervious pavement where you have all the runoff goes, you know, right into the storm sewers and causes more flooding and more erosion. So in this case, it is a tricky site for them because they do have to account for having this wooded forested area that now is going to become impervious. One of the benefits of the US EPA and Ohio EPA's requirements for stormwater post-construction management is they actually have to discharge less than before the development, and they have to model that and show that. And one of the cool things about this plan is, not cool for them, cool for us, they can't count their tree plantings in their post-construction modeling. So in their post-construction modeling, they have to be conservative. We basically have to assume everything is buildings, roads, sidewalk, and grass, and the trees won't be accounted for. However, we will actually be getting a benefit from them, especially 30, 40 years from now as they reach maturity. So what we're gonna end up with is a product, should we review it right, and that's my job, that's one of my main tasks that we work with other outside help on as well. We'll end up with a product that demonstrates that they are discharging less post-construction, and then over time we'll actually be discharging even less than that as the trees do reach canopy. So just wanted to clarify that as far as the stormwater goes. Nothing that they say as far as what they're planting will affect the way that we model the post-construction stormwater. If they planted no trees, it would be the same model as if they planted the whole site full of trees from our perspective.
And quick question on that. So where they have their ponds located and the sizes of them, that is pretty much set in stone based on, or that still comes up as you model your stuff? Can you straighten that out?
Yeah, so it's possible that the shapes could change some when they get to the stormwater design. I don't think they're probably anywhere near that right now. But generally, when you have something that is this far along in development, they have a really good idea of what their post-construction impervious area is going to be. So they can get pretty close to what their stormwater ponds are going to be like. I don't know where they're at in their design, but you can get really close with knowing they're going to have this many lots. This is the size of the house. You can get pretty close to exactly what it's going to be. There might be some minor changes, but I wouldn't expect, if they've already engaged with a civil engineer to do the design, I wouldn't expect there to be, a significant change.
Wouldn't you have to add an extra pond, or this pond's doubled in size or anything?
It's possible, but I wouldn't say it's likely as long as they've actually engaged a civil engineer to start that design.
I mean, as it was mentioned, this has been a 2-year plan. So we came to the table with a plan. It was rejected. We were told to bring it back as a P&D. It was approved. We designed it for that thing, which was residential and towns, and then it was actually overturned in ballot. So it got back to an R1. So this stormwater has been calculated threefold of what this plan now is today, when it was towns and everything else. Just to give a quick sample of how it works, they run it into quadrants when we start a project. So before we even have an idea what they're putting on it, they make a quadrant, they figure out what the calculations are, and figure out how that water flows. That's how they came up with the 3 ponds. So if anything, the ponds will actually probably be downsized from what's being shown on here, because that's the maximum area we could actually take up. So as they finish those calculations and go, it'll actually probably shrink. So that may be the overall size of the pond to the out, and then the embankments come in, the actual inside of the pond could be smaller, but it will not exceed that. And we know that we have plenty of stormwater management on site because they've already done all the calculations. So that's something that we have to do up front to even see if it'll fit, and that's how we come up with a plan, here. So just wanted to clarify. I know we're way outside the trees, but
Yeah.
I do want to make sure everybody understands where we're at with that plan.
Okay.
I want to make a motion that we table this till next month for a vote.
Well, does anybody else have questions? We've got other people have
We
questions.
got limit to like one more question?
No, we're here to,
Okay,
you have an appointment?
okay,
I'm gonna hold you over. I'm twisting your arm.
I know.
Hi, my name is Peg Robertson, and I had 2 questions. One, I wanted someone to clarify. You used the term utility trench. I'm wondering if the utility trench will include buried electric lines, or if it will just be water, sewer, and gas.
It'll have electric lines in it.
So there won't be any worries in 20, 30 years that suddenly these trees are, looking beautiful, and then they're going to be hacked because they're wires.
So the trees here, that's the tree, like 10-foot tree, sidewalk, 12-foot utility easement on the other side of the sidewalk. So the utility compared to the trees are minimum of probably 10 feet plus.
But the electric wires are going to be buried?
Yeah, out there with the utility.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
Yeah, there'll be, that's what I was saying earlier, you'll never get the funny cut tree where they're trimming it because of power lines. It'll all be buried lines.
Right, okay. Because, no offense to the city, but the new trees that were planted on Coshocton Avenue, just past or just east of that bridge, to me, they were planted just right underneath the electric lines. And I was like, wow, is the city trying to guarantee Asplund, income?
Those trees were ornamental trees. They're pretty much at the maximum they're gonna grow.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah,
My other question.
We try very hard not to make that mistake.
Okay, wonderful. Also, will removal of all of basically the entire forest for this development, there's been a lot of talk about the effects of, the water going down the hillside and everything. But my question pertains to water retention for the residences on Woodside Drive. They're on wells. So, is this going to pull possible well water down the hillside into these retention ponds as well?
Well, the retention ponds are surface water.
Yeah, a well is it gets from a water table that's well below anything that is going to be surfaced at all. Yeah, wells are drilled down. They actually pull from a pocket of water. They don't pull anything from surface water. So anything that's retained on site is done inside of a clay base and retained. It's actually a lot of times they're done from a retaining pond and they're converted later to, if they do convert, but a retaining pond is what was done during construction processes, so it retains all water on site.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question? All right, Russ.
Now I make a motion
Now you
during the
make-
meeting.
Well,
Table
you
this,
gotta-
vote for next
We're
month.
gonna table, yeah. Hey, make your motion
I make a motion, we table a vote for Shade Tree Commission.
for our November meeting. Now, if
Yep.
everybody remember, November is our last meeting of the year.
Yep,
So come November, we have to have everything cleaned up.
that's what I'm saying.
Because they wanna
I said
go
we
in
give
December
them-
to-
Guarantee them a vote.
They want to go in December to planning. That'll give everybody time. We've got questions. We'll probably have another call or two,
Absolutely.
maybe a Zoom meeting. Get people involved and make sure we're good. Comfortable?
Can I,
Second it?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All right.
Can I ask one
Oh, wait a
thing?
minute,
I
wait
make
a
a
minute.
motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, no, we're tabling that. Okay, we're all agreed on
sorry,
that. All
I
right.
just gonna clarify one thing. If you're gonna make a motion to postpone,
Okay.
because they required me to be here in person for this meeting, do I need to be here in person in
I
November?
would, because you're gonna have an audience.
Well, then I'm gonna ask for not a postponement because I cannot be here for November's meeting.
Yeah.
So if there's gonna be a postponement, I'm gonna ask for a thing that they vote without me being
Can I
here.
pull up the ordinance real quick and
Yes.
just make sure, see if he
Let's-
has to be here?
Let's see what the ordinance says. We do not meet in December. Because it's right there at Christmas time. We have a hard enough time getting them now. We're putting flags out and doing other things in December.
And so the procedure section says, the Shade Tree Commission shall review the tree planting plan at its next regularly scheduled meeting and make a recommendation to the NPC. In making its recommendation, the Shade Tree may recommend approval with modifications, or denial of the tree planting plan. It does not say that they need to be here in person. So you simply wouldn't be able to have a presence at the next meeting.
So it's contrary to what I was told for this. I just
Well,
wanna
no.
make sure.
To clarify, so in order to have a presence, you need to be here in person.
Okay.
So to be able to present
Okay,
initially your plan, you needed to be
Perfect.
here in person.
Okay.
We can't do Zoom calls for the
Got
meeting
it.
itself.
so if it was just a vote on November per what the plan was, okay. Just wanted to make sure I was clear. Proceed.
Okay, all right, so,
I'll double check with legal after the
so
meeting.
we're all in favor of tabling? Yes?
I'm good with that.
Yes.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so we'll table this till November meeting. In the meantime, we'll get things cleared up, and questions you have, you definitely direct them to Quentin. Quentin will be our head guy.
Sure.
He pulls all the stuff. So any questions you have about anything, direct it to Quentin, and then we'll work it through from there.
When can these guys get these reports? Because the city closes at 4 o'clock.
They can follow me downstairs. They're already inside.
There you go.
Yeah, we've got a few, I have a few of them up here I brought up.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go for it, what you got?
Sorry. So,
I've got to excuse myself if you're good with me.
Okay.
Okay,
I
I
think-
apologize.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
sorry. So he is not here for the next meeting, and as you guys are talking it through, just for example, you said there were 2 types of trees that you didn't want on those plans. So if the plans change and he can't present, are there implications there? Or are we gonna get it on the agenda and at least see the changes that they're trying to make?
So there wouldn't, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
There wouldn't be any changes to the placement of the trees. It would just be purely species changes.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that we're not gonna run into issues because technically official plans would probably change as you're talking and figuring things out. And if his presence is required to present and the presentation changes, that's all I'm clarifying is
Yeah,
that gonna be a problem?
as long as there's no, I don't know, if there's not any fine print anywhere that said, because the placement of the trees wouldn't change at all. It would basically just be what you all request as species to install there.
I think this would fall under the category of the approval with modifications. So they would work with the developer to come up with the modifications to the original plan that was presented. So they would make a recommendation to MPC at that point, if there were modifications made, to recommend the approval of the plan with these modifications. And would even have the liberty to do that, to make modifications during their meeting for things that weren't even presented to them. For example, had they chosen today, they could have made a motion to recommend this to MPC with the modification that the beech and the dogwood trees were removed from the plan. And they could have done that during their regular meeting. So my understanding is, I'm not a lawyer, that was how it would proceed, but we could ask the law director about that.
I got one question. November meeting, when is that and what time? Are we allowed to come to it?
Sure, it's open to the
It's
public.
public.
It's the last Tuesday of every month at 3 PM here in council chambers.
Always.
We normally run till 4 o'clock because our city employees work till 4 o'clock. So I'm not signing off on her overtime. She's out of luck. No.
Here till 4:30.
Here till 4:30, okay. All right. So,
Make a motion during the meeting.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's
Thank you.
official. Thanks for showing up and thanks for your concern. We'll do our best.
It's funny how different
Next month's meeting, we're not planning on anything else but this.
Just like now. Generation Nursery out of Belleville.
Hoping to get the minutes passed for this year.
Boy, should I get
4 of them.
Yeah, we'll have 4 of them to pass. Plus, we got grants going on, we got tree markers in.